Alright, welcome back, guys, to Horror Room Movie Reviews. And today we have the fifth movie in the Leprechaun series, Leprechaun in the Hood. And as you can see, the movie has probably the best cover. I think we agree on that.
Definitely full agree.
Best cover in the entire series of the Leprechaun movies. And I hope you enjoy that because it's all downhill from here. This movie was... I thought this movie was horrible, and it's probably the worst we have seen yet.
That's debatable. That's debatable, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, this one, I don't know. This one came out in 2000, and I have to say that just trying to get this thing to play almost broke my DVD player. I don't know what the hell happened, but I put it in and it started making this loud buzzing sound. I had to go get another DVD player and hook that up in order just to watch this movie, and even that made like a buzzing sound the whole time.
None of the other DVDs did this to your DVD player.
No, And they're all the same Lionsgate DVDs, but this one just like buzzed and it wouldn't play. It started to skip, and it definitely wasn't a disc, so I don't know what the hell was going on here. But the movie starts off and we see Leprechaun counting his gold, which was like the other movies.
Yeah, you see the same frame from like the first movie, but you've seen it in the last like other movies too. So
yeah, I thought this was good that they at least had that.
Yeah, definitely cool.
Then we go to the 70s.
Yeah,
and Ice-T has this big afro, bell bottoms. Him and another guy. The other guy has like a fro pick. And they're looking for gold in some abandoned warehouse or something.
Question mark where this is, just abandoned subway tunnel or something.
And they find the leprechaun statue.
With the medallion around the neck.
Yeah, he's got the pot of gold. And Ice-T takes this gold flute, which he says is the only thing he cares about. I don't know how he even found out about this or what it could do, but he takes this gold flute. He tells the other guy to get the rest of the gold. The other guy takes the medallion off the statue, which brings Leprechaun to life. And then Leprechaun kills the guy with the fro pick. He stabs him in the neck. Ice-T pulls a gun, but it burns his hand. Leprechaun's using his magic powers on him. He pulls a knife out of his afro. Leprechaun throws that away. He pulls a mini baseball bat out of his afro.
Out of his fro.
Oh man,
That's
just
good.
Yeah, you can see where this is going.
Yeah.
So he falls down, the medallion flies up into the air, lands on Leprechaun, and turns him into stone again.
Back into stone. And now this is the past.
Yeah, and so we go to present day.
Which, now that you said that, I would like to say the time frame, the continuity of this film has just been screwed over once again. Time frame, people. If he's stone in the 70s until now...
Yeah.
How was he moving around with like messing with Jennifer Aniston and all these other movies?
It shows Ice-T later in his office, and he has the leprechaun, who's stone with the medallion. He's got him like locked up in a case. So Leprechaun never left. So from the 70s till 2000, he's supposed to be with Ice-T. So yeah, that completely screws up all the other movies' storylines except for space, because that was technically the future.
We all know how screwed up that was.
But yeah, so they just really threw that out the window. So present day, we get some rappers and we see their speakers blow up. They're not very good. They're trying to win a contest to go to Vegas. They need some money to get better equipment, so they go and try and pawn a guitar with a fake Jimi Hendrix signature, and they eventually run into Ice-T, who is now a rich gangster.
Promotes his own like record company, has his own record company and stuff.
And he has the flute.
Yeah, all thanks really to the flute.
So he lets him get in the car. He says, okay, we'll talk about your music career. They go back to his crib to listen to the tape, and we see the leprechaun statue in the office. He tells him that he's not into positive music. He wants it to be more gangsta, and he kicks him out.
Yeah, because they don't want to like change the music, and he's like, screw you guys, get out.
So Stray, who's kind of like the tough guy of the three, he wants to rob Ice-T. Butch, who's
Yeah, I mean, Stray Bullet, just by the name, you should understand. He's the thug of the group, the thug. And Butch, like you said, he's an idiot. But he's the genius, smart idiot.
And he's also like a follower. He kind of just goes along with them.
Definitely the follower of the group.
Post doesn't want to. Postmaster P.
He
doesn't really want to go along with it, but he does it reluctantly. And they decide, all right, we're going to go to Ice-T's, rob him, steal some of that gold we saw. So they break in. Ice-T catches them. Post shoots Ice-T, takes the flute. Butch takes the medallion, and the leprechaun comes to life again. The leprechaun says they have more loot than Tiger Woods. And I just have to say, I love how despite being stoned for the nearly 30 years or whatever it was, the leprechaun is still up to date on current events. Like in every movie, not just this one. He always has rhymes about current events.
A new rhyme. It doesn't matter. The stone leprechaun knows no time or space.
So the other guys, they all shoot Leprechaun. It looks like he's dead. Ice-T, we find out he's okay because the bullet hit a necklace or something.
Yeah, it's like he was holding one of those big, thick necklaces, and it just stopped. The necklace stopped it, so he's fine.
Yeah, so they all take off and leave. Ice-T goes to a bar to call some reinforcements, and he goes to the bathroom, and he ends up smoking weed with the Leprechaun.
Yeah, Leprechaun surprises him, and Ice-T just wants to calm down. He's smoking a joint, and Leprechaun's like, "What's that pungent aroma?"
Yeah. But yes, he is at least rhyming in this one again.
Yeah, thank you. It's one of the very few good things with this script.
Yeah. And he rips off Ice-T's finger, tells him, go find my gold or I'm going to kill you. He leaves the bar and he electrocutes this guy.
The DJ, I'm thinking.
The DJ, he electrocutes him. So, the others are at the pawn shop again. And Post blows the flute and we see it kind of hypnotize the others. And then they go to see Chow, the Asian guy who they want to buy some party supplies from, and they do some really goofy comedy here.
Yeah, I mean, it's really too silly to be funny.
Yeah, and he blows the flute again, but he doesn't understand what it's doing, so...
Yeah.
Leprechaun hears the flute wherever he is, though, so he's kind of tracking them.
Yeah.
And Ice-T sends a guy to go get back the flute, and he finds the medallion, which was left behind in the ruckus. So Ice-T has the medallion, which is really the only way to stop Leprechaun.
Yeah.
Which was in the second movie?
Third.
Oh yeah, the third movie. He, in Vegas or whatever.
Yeah. And then in the fourth, he doesn't say nothing about no flute or necklace. But then back to the past, we got the necklace back.
Yeah, so they did at least follow up with the medallion.
If you call this following up.
So Leprechaun goes to the pawn shop to find his gold. He uses a female illusion to trick the pawn shop owner. And we just have to I assume he's beaten to death. It doesn't show anything. It was really weird. It's like Leprechaun's just listening to the guy, and you hear him screaming and some punches, but...
Yeah, and Leprechaun, you don't know where he's at. He's just in this little dark room. You think it's the trunk of his car, maybe?
Yeah, I thought it was the trunk.
But you don't really know where he's at or what's going on outside that he's hearing. So it's just, that was dumb. That was a dumb moment.
Yeah. Then we see the other three are having a party, and Ice-T and his bodyguard show up. He wants the flute back. The others don't know anything about the flute since Post is the one that took it. He goes to shoot him, but his messed up finger that Leprechaun ripped off gives him enough time to escape.
Tries to pull the trigger with a bad finger, with a no finger.
So Post shows the others the flute, and he says he didn't give it back because he was scared. They need to get some help, so they go to this transsexual prostitute, I guess.
Because Mac Daddy, which is Ice-T's name in this film, he knows everybody in this town, obviously, since he's the main, big promotional guy. So he knows everybody in town, so they have to find somebody who Mac Daddy wouldn't know, so it's going to be this transsexual prostitute.
Yeah, because they need a place to stay for the night, so they end up staying with her. Then we see Leprechaun. He kills Chow, the Asian shop owner, with a half-ass choke.
I mean, it's really, you see the thumbs like outside of the neck.
Yeah, his hand's just on the guy's neck. It was so
it's
bad.
really bad. Like, this isn't the only, he does that twice. Really bad choking.
Yeah. The other three are rapping with the transsexual, and a neighbor gets pissed. So Post plays the flute, and then everyone likes their music, and then we see like all these people over like a huge party.
Yeah.
And they're rapping. Leprechaun shows up at the house, and the transsexual hits on him.
Yeah, he's like, you're just my size for Miss Fontaine.
So they go into a room together. The other guys hear screaming. They think she's in there having sex with somebody, but we see that the Leprechaun killed her.
Yeah, another bad chokehold.
Yeah, it's really just like some. There's like blood on her neck.
Blood.
I have no idea.
Yeah, but
what
really,
the hell that happened here. But Butch creates a bomb or something, and they try and set Leprechaun on fire with this.
Idiot savant over here.
So they head to Post's grandma's house, who was a old blind lady.
This is whose grandma is Postmaster P's grandma's house.
Yeah, Postmaster P, and they decide they need a place to hide out to keep everybody safe. So they go to the church to stay the night. The preacher says they can stay there, but they're gonna need a musical guest, and they'll have to perform in front of the entire church.
Now I like this because when they talk about the church, is like for the next 10 minutes or throughout the whole church scene, you just hear the word sanctuary like a half a dozen times or a dozen times. Like, we need a sanctuary. Sanctuary? Sanctuary.
They
We need
did
some
keep
sanctuary.
saying that. So they have to sing this lame-ass song. The church gets offended. He plays the flute again, and then everybody likes it. And for some reason, Coolio is there.
Yeah, he just jumps into church.
Yeah, they say, "Hey, that's Coolio," and then they all start like going
Coolio.
along with the song.
Which he has his dumbfounded face on. He's like, oh.
Yeah. Ice-T shows up at the church, and they run away from him. They could have just used the flute, but they keep running from him. And then they run into a room and they find Leprechaun, so they run from him, and then they find Ice-T again. And it was like Scooby-Doo or something.
Yeah, yeah. You leave one enemy to find another. Then you try to leave that one, then you find the other guy again.
So Ice-T's going to kill him. They say, "Hey, the Leprechaun's behind you." He doesn't believe them. So Leprechaun blows a hole in Ice-T's bodyguard.
Like a thug, like as a little thug. Just blows a hole in him, I mean.
Yeah. He said, "Did somebody say blow?" And then does this, and then there's like a hole appears in the guy.
Hallelujah. No, okay.
So Ice-T runs away, and the other three and the preacher end up locking Leprechaun in a safe. Same thing they did in the second movie.
Yes.
They try to record the sounds of the flute onto a tape, but it doesn't work. It won't be picked up by the recorder. They tell the preacher that they want to leave the Leprechaun in the safe with him while they go to Vegas. Stray takes the preacher's gun so that they can take care of Ice-T if he comes back. And from the safe, Leprechaun summons the zombie fly girls.
First time you hear about them in this movie, but apparently you know from the second one, right, that he can make slaves. He can have a slave.
Yeah.
And right now it's going to be these zombie slaves. They're not actual zombies, but that's what they're called in the movie.
So they play the three guys, the rappers. They go and they play a show using the flute. The first thing I noticed about this during their concert was sometimes they use the microphones and sometimes they don't use them.
Yeah, it's like...
And a girl shows up, and the preacher, back at the church, the preacher kind of likes her, he's hitting on her, and then he finds out she has green eyes when she takes her glasses off. And the Leprechaun then appears behind the preacher and shoves his hand through him, killing him.
Through his, like, stomach.
So...
But how did he get out of the safe? How did he get out? Like, it doesn't show that.
Doesn't show it. I assume one of the zombie girls let him out, but yeah, they really didn't show any of this. Then we see a record producer telling Post, Stray, and Butch that they're going to Vegas for the finals. And he gives them the good news. He leaves, and then all of a sudden, the zombie fly girls show up. They all have the green eyes that are glowing. Leprechaun shows up, and he wants the flute back. So he makes Stray point a gun at Butch. So Stray is under his control, but Butch is not. However.
Yeah, that's the question. I also a question I have. So he can make Stray, point the gun at his friend, but his friend Butch is just not going to move. Don't move from the gun being pointed at you. It's cool.
So Post hands over the flute, and Leprechaun goes to leave, and then Post tries to attack him.
He's like, "Fuck you!"
And the other guy, Stray with the gun, who still is holding the gun now, Leprechaun makes him shoot himself in the head.
Yeah.
So Stray is eliminated here. Butch and Post, they put him in a car and just leave his body, and they're all depressed. Butch wants to go home. And then we cut back to the Leprechaun, and we see a prostitute brought to him by the zombie fly girls, and this made no sense at all. I suppose they're trying to make Leprechaun like he's a pimp or something. It just came across really weird. Like, they have this girl, and they say, "Will she do?" And he looks at her, and he's like, "Yeah." And then they go up this elevator thing, and that's it.
That's it.
So I have no idea.
It's like up to the viewer what really is happening.
Then we see the Leprechaun at Post's grandma's house. She's blind, so she's feeding him some food because his hands are all knotted up. And she accidentally stabs him in the eye and pulls his eyeball out, but then we see it was all a dream by Post. He wakes up, he answers the door, and it's Stray, so he's dreaming again, he wakes up again. And then Butch finally shows up, and he says, "I want to help you get the flute back." He's got all types of stuff. He's got Leprechaun for Dummies.
Yeah, he just buys the book Leprechaun for Dummies.
He's got a joint made of 4-leaf clovers.
Because he read in the book 4-leaf clovers, a hint the 4-leaf clovers will just make him powerless.
Which I did like that they brought back the 4-leaf clovers, because we haven't seen 4-leaf clovers since the first movie.
Since the first one, man. It took another 4 damn movies.
And then we see Butch, and he says that Leprechaun is over at the Golden Parrot, and he thinks he's fucking people to death after the zombie girls hypnotize them. So in order to get close, they dress up like girls. Oh my god.
Another round of cross-dressing.
Yeah, just like the 4th movie where the sergeant was cross-dressing.
Just like we saw a few minutes ago with the cross-dressing hooker.
Yeah, and here they go to the Golden Parrot. It's supposed to be like this hard place to get into, and we just see Post smoking weed with the zombie girls, and they instantly just return to normal.
Now, in the book, when Butch is talking about the clovers affecting Leprechaun, he doesn't say anything about affecting Leprechaun's slaves or anything else. How does the clovers work on the slaves? Period, my question. They're not Leprechaun. They're not a Leprechaun.
Well, one thing I thought was weird is he's smoking this joint with them, and then they smoke it again with Leprechaun. So, did they have 2 clover joints? Like, they got a lot of 4-leaf clovers.
Yeah,
in
apparently
just a few minutes.
Butch just finds clovers around everywhere, just enough to pack these big old fat joints.
So, Butch and Post, they head up to see Leprechaun.
No buys.
They smoke some weed with him. Leprechaun says probably my favorite rhyme of all time here. Something good to see you, lass. Now I'll tap your ass.
It's like, come closer, my fine young lass. And then something that's like, let me tap that ass.
Yeah, this was, oh my god. I definitely thought that was hilarious. So they smoke some weed with him. He kind of passes out or something, and they can steal the flute. They run away. And then we see gunshots, and Butch gets shot by Ice-T.
Now this is a good part, because, frame for frame.
Oh, man.
There's 2 Butch and Postmaster P are just standing there. They hear gunshots and run, and the next scene. What's the very next scene?
Next scene is Butch just shot with blood all over. It doesn't show him get hit. He's just running. The 2 of them are running, and then he looks back, and Butch is like this.
He's just down.
Yeah, he's just out. So I laughed my ass off at that. So Ice-T shot him, and then he just dies.
Yeah.
Post goes up to confront Ice-T, still wearing his dress during all of this. And Ice-T wants to work with him to kill Leprechaun. But he gets mad, and he shoots Ice-T. He goes down. Leprechaun shows up. He does some rhymes. Post does some rhymes. Post tells him Ice-T is behind him, but he doesn't believe him. And Ice-T hits him with a chair. Then Leprechaun blows a hole in Ice-T.
Now, I would like to say something. There was a moment right before what he's talking about with the Leprechaun, where Leprechaun actually, they're talking about the Leprechaun, Postmaster and Mac Daddy, about what they're going to do, and you see the elevator behind Postmaster coming down, and you hear it. You see it and hear it, but right in front of these two, but they don't see a thing or hear a thing, but it's obviously Leprechaun is in the elevator watching them, listening to them, but they don't see it.
Yeah.
What?
So he kills Ice-T. Leprechaun blows another hole in him like he did the bodyguard. We see the medallion fall in the air, and we assume it lands on Leprechaun, but then the scene cuts.
That scene.
The next thing we see is Postmaster P rapping.
One line. He raps one line over and over again. This
It's
whole
a
damn movie was just full of rap songs with like 2 lines. They repeated.
So we think maybe he went off to be a big star, but then he takes his glasses off and he has the glowing green eyes. Leprechaun says, "I taught him everything he knows." And then we see Leprechaun do a music video. He's rapping, he's singing a song, "Lep in the Hood, came to do no good."
Can do no good.
And yeah, he's just dancing around with the zombie girls while the credits roll, and that was it, really.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, this was bad.
Now, you said something interesting about the creativity points earlier.
Yeah, this movie, I thought the other ones were, they're bad movies too, except for the first one. It's okay, and the second one I thought was alright. They all have some good stuff about them. This movie was just really bad all the way through. The death scenes in particular really, really sucked. He stabs his hand through a guy, and then he blows a hole through 2 people. So they really weren't creative. I mean, we were talking about Vegas, and I thought Vegas wasn't that great, and the death scenes were really cheesy. For instance, when they killed the casino owner with the robot sex doll, but at least it was creative.
Yeah.
This is nothing. Nothing creative happens here.
They made Leprechaun into like a typical urban scene. Like all he's going to do is blow holes in people like a typical drive-by. No.
Yeah, it really was disappointing to me. The comedy was terribly unfunny, just stupid stuff, and it was just definitely the worst Leprechaun I've seen so far out of all 5. And there's only one left, which you say is actually worse than this one. I can't even fathom how that is possible. So I'm looking forward to that.
Now, I kind of did like this movie for a few points. I mean, after not having any rhymes in the last movie, then they kick off this one again with rhymes. It had Ice-T, I like, which he puts on a pretty good performance for being like, typical thug guy. I mean, he's good at that. And all in all, I liked it, man. I mean, it was a bad movie. Oh, it was a bad movie.
Yeah.
I mean, all types of bad, but one of the better ones.
Yeah. Well, that's it, guys. I hope you liked this review of Leprechaun in the Hood.
In the Hood.
And we will be back next Wednesday to do Leprechaun 6 Back to the Hood. So, oh man, I can't even wait for that one. Ooh. So that's it, guys. Hope you liked the video, and thanks for watching. Bye.